Hey everyone, I'm Jean Chatzky. Thanks so much for joining me today on Her Money, where we talk about personal finance and how money touches pretty much everything in our lives. In 2010, Lauren Cobello, who you may know as Lauren Groupman, created an entire brand as the Coupon Lady after she shared her story about how she got her family out of $40,000 in debt by couponing and budgeting. She didn't have a financial background, but she quickly found herself being invited to share her story at churches and seminars, and eventually she was making thousands of dollars on a single YouTube video. By 2016, she was posting multiple times a day. She wrote a few books about couponing and budgeting and was filming family finance videos with her kids and her husband as the main characters in her online universe. But here's the thing about creating a brand and a community around your own personal story. Sometimes that story falls apart. By 2017, Lauren and her husband split, leaving her to navigate life as a single mom of four, and she was back in debt again. For a while, she continued to post to keep her brand alive, but she soon realized that she felt completely inauthentic doing it. She came clean to her followers earlier this year and made a complete pivot in her career and in her life. She's now the founder and CEO of Leverage with Media PR, where she works with nonfiction authors on all things in and around book promotion. We're going to get into how she made that transition, how she came to terms with leaving all that influencer money on the table, and her new money philosophy, including why she doesn't believe in budgeting rules anymore. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jean. I'm so excited to be here with you today, and thanks for the warm introduction.
We're excited to have you. It's a fascinating story, and as somebody who has had many chapters in my own life, career and personal, I definitely relate, and I am excited to hear more about it. A couple months back, we had a guest on the show named Scott Rick. He is an academic, and he has done some research on people's spending strategies. He characterizes people in two broad categories. There are tightwads and spendthrifts, and he argues that we're often attracted to our financial opposites. You call yourself a classic spendthrift. Tell me why and where you were in your life in those different periods where you found yourself so deeply in debt.
Yeah, actually, I know Rick, or I know his book, Tightwads and Spendthrifts. Is that's what the title is, right?
Yeah.
And I've been following his journey, and actually, so I'm definitely a spender, and I think in my personality, I'm definitely just a fast starter in general when it comes to business and, entrepreneurism and all of that. Make fast decisions. And, I think that comes with how I spend my money as well. So I don't necessarily see it as a downfall because I've made some really good financial decisions, but I definitely fall in the spender category. And actually my last book that I wrote in 2017 was called The Recovering Spender. And it became a bestseller. It was published by Hachette. And I had a chapter in there about spenders versus savers and the same type of topic. And me and him actually had a conversation about that because I think we do tend to attract the opposite personality.
What is it about you that made you a spender? And tell us a little bit about your recovery.
Yeah. So what makes me a spender is I think that I look at things as money to me. It buys me joy, right? It buys me joy. I buy the things that bring me joy. And so, for example, I'm not a big spender on clothing. Like, I don't enjoy shopping. I don't. But I do enjoy things that bring me joy. A couple of years ago, I bought a boat, right? A couple of years ago, I bought a camper because, I love spending time with my children. So I will think about that. And when I find something, I'm a quick action taker. I'm like, okay, I like it. I buy it. I know what I want. So I'll do the research beforehand and then I'll buy it right away. So I buy on impulse a lot, but I also buy on a gut feeling a lot. And a lot of times it doesn't prove me wrong. But I also know that I have to set boundaries around myself. I've learned what boundaries and what feelings inside of me are icky and wrong and when to pull back. So I've done a lot of research and therapy within myself to know this is not right. I need to pull back. I'm spending too much. This is why. And so I've kind of done that internal work so that I don't get into debt again.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading that when you were 26 years old, you were living in a really nice house. You had an Audi and a Cadillac, but you lost the house. It ended
Mm-hmm.
up getting foreclosed on. You guys couldn't pay your bills. Was there a feeling of having it all together, but deep down knowing that you were in trouble, or wanting to show the world one life, but then sort of quaking on the inside?
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't think I'm alone in that, right? When we have these ideas of this is the way life should be, keeping up with the Joneses, right? Have a nice house. I got married young. We were 21 when we got married. So getting married young, having kids young, the next step is getting a nice house and getting nice cars, following the American dream path. But then when the American dream doesn't work out, what do you do? Do you continue to play the role, or do you get real with yourself and say, no, like I'm not following this anymore. This doesn't bring me joy. This isn't working out. What is going to be my news story? And I had to kind of make that choice even when I went through my divorce of, am I going to play this role again? Am I going to allow myself to evolve as a person and switch my career and change the dynamics and change the dialogue of what I want my life to look like? And for me, there was a lot of shame involved on the outside. For me, I had a gorgeous house that we had built for us, and two kids, a boy and a girl, and like nice cars, and looked like we had it all together, but we were struggling with debt. And was I going to allow that facade to keep us in debt, or were we going to make some really bold changes? And that's what we did.
The levels of debt in this country, consumer debt, are skyrocketing. Whether we look at student loan debt, credit card debt, mortgage loan debt, it's just going up and up and up. And you took that problem in your own life and you solved it. And I'm sure there are people listening with various levels of debt, some small, some much larger, who are thinking, all right, what is the secret? Can you walk us through how you did it and how you would suggest somebody who's going through this today tackle a similar problem?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was I had to get really real with myself. Where am I at? Writing down all of my debts, all of the financial difficulties that I was having, but also get really real with myself. And like, I'm a spender and I spend money impulsively. And because of that, I've gotten into a lot of debt. So that was the first thing, getting really real with myself. It's like before you want to lose weight, you have to figure out your starting weight, right? You have to get on the scale and actually take a look at it. And that's painful. Same thing, you have to look at the damage. And that is very difficult. And you have to, I think you have to share it with somebody. Find somebody you can trust that can help you. And we did that. I also took a look at the things that I could control. There's some things I couldn't control. I took a look at the things I could control. The biggest thing I could control right out of the gate was my grocery budget, which was why I focused on couponing and meal planning and really focused on that right out of the gate because I could control that. And so that's kind of where the couponing and meal planning started. And that's how my career in personal finance started. And so that's really what I would suggest. Focus on what you can control, what you can't control. What you can control, reducing the bills, calling all your bill companies, finding out how to negotiate those rates down, canceling things you don't need. Getting out of debt requires a level of being really honest with yourself. I did therapy. Why am I doing this? Because it was a cycle for me.
What did you learn in therapy? I mean, what did that help you understand?
I think there's a lot of financial trauma that a lot of us have endured in childhood. And one of the biggest things that I learned was that I was taught that money was a way to cure feelings, bad feelings, right? So if I felt stressed, I would go shopping. If I felt depressed, pick me up would be a trip to the mall. And maybe I didn't like clothes, but I liked decorating my house. So like going to Hobby Lobby would be an endorphin rush for me, or going on Amazon would be an endorphin rush for me. So I had to take a look at what happened in my life early on that led me to being a spender. And through therapy, that really kind of helped unlock like the feelings that happened before the spend is really what I had to pay more attention to actually the money that comes out of my pocketbook.
In the years that followed, and I'm going to come to the couponing in just a second because boy, oh boy, when I look at people's budgets these days, and I've done a lot of that lately in our Finance Fix coaching class, we help people track where their money is actually going. And on my PBS show, Opportunity Knocks, same deal, looking at where the money's going. We are eating up our money. There is no doubt in my mind we are eating up our money. But when you have a day now, when you're having a bad day, or when you are feeling stressed out, how do you get yourself to not hit Amazon and to not go to the mall? I mean, I don't know that any of us go to malls anymore, but to not hit Amazon.
I go for a walk. I get out in nature. I also am a very big proponent of picking one thing in your life to invest in that brings you that joy, right? So for example, I have this, I love flotation therapy. So float tank deprivation therapy. And that brings me a lot of joy. So I have a membership that's in my budget. I don't really like budget line by line like I used to anymore, but I have in my monthly spending every month a $65 membership to my float tank center. And I make that a priority every single month to go and use that membership to reset myself. And so that's something that I invest in every single month. But going out and taking a walk, reading a book, doing something in my life that doesn't cost money, doing a puzzle. I mean, I've gotten just really into those types of things that slow my brain down so that I don't need that rush.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. It helps for me to have sort of an if-then framework. If I'm feeling really stressed, I'll go for a run instead of hit the pantry and eat all the chocolate-covered raisins, or instead of explode at somebody in my life because I don't want to do that, or instead of shopping because I am a stress shopper as well. I know that about myself with a particular proclivity for things that are on sale. It's like candy for me.
Yep.
When you look at your budget, I know you believe that rules don't apply anymore, or at least you don't follow the rules as strictly as you used to. How did you shift? What did you used to do and what do you do now?
Yeah, so I actually used to do live stream my budget every month. I used to call it the budget night. The last Sunday of every month, I used to live stream my budget of me doing my budget, sharing real numbers and all of that. And gosh, how freeing was that to not have to do that anymore. Like when I quit being an influencer and quit that, I was like, thank God I don't have to do that anymore because that was hard. But right now, I kind of at the end of every month, I just look at, okay, what's coming out? What do I need to do? How much money do I need to have in my bill checking account so that I have all my bills set aside? And then I have my free money where I can do what I want with. And then I have my investing money that I set aside. And so I have like some buckets that I can play with, right? But I don't have, I can only spend $100 a month on this. I give myself more room also because I'm making more money and because I've increased my income that I can have some more play money. But I also still live very frugally. Like I don't spend a lot of money. I live in a very affordable place in upstate New York. I'm not a big shopper. I cook most things at home. I'm just not a spender. I've really kind of gotten to a different place in that. I just hang out with my kids and my friends, and I just don't spend a lot of money. That's just kind of in who I am. And now, who I am now, I'll say. If I do go, I'm traveling. I would prefer to spend my money on travel. But so, yeah, that's just kind of how I do it now. I give myself the grace to be able to enjoy life a little bit more. But it's because I've worked really, really hard to get there. It wasn't like that for a while.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
I want to dig into the grocery strategies, the couponing strategies, because boy, we are all feeling it at the grocery store these days. And I also want to talk about this shift that you made in your career, because a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking, God, how great would that be to switch careers and make more money? Couponing, Lauren. I mean, if whether we're talking about eggs or butter or just our overall grocery bill each week, there's no denying it is a lot more expensive than it was a couple of years ago. Meal prepping, couponing, all of those things are so powerful, but for people who've never done them, they can also be a little daunting. So, what are your best strategies? And let's sort of take it in two categories. Let's talk about couponing first, then we'll talk about meal planning.
Right. Yeah. So couponing, there's so many digital coupon strategies out there right now. And I mean, you can even go on Instagram and TikTok and follow couponing videos and strategies and things like that and find deals that you can go into Walgreens, Rite Aid, all of that, and cut your budget right now. I am a huge proponent of meal planning, I think, over couponing at this point, because what happens is couponing is great. I love couponing, and I still do at, drugstores, Walgreens, Rite Aid, because you can just get the app and find the coupons while you're in the store, because it'll tell you on the store tag, and play the drugstore games. And what that means is, buy 2 of these shampoos and they'll print out a coupon that you can use on your next order next week, and then use that coupon to buy 2 more things that give you more money, and it essentially gives it to you for free. And by cutting down your budget on toiletries so that you're not spending pretty much any money on those toiletries, laundry detergent, toothpaste, toothbrushes, you have more money to spend on groceries. So that's the thought process on that. But I'm a huge proponent of meal planning and freezer cooking. My website back in the day was iamthatlady.com, which I've since sold. But I did so many meal plans of how people can freezer cook and create 20 recipes for $200, and then they stick them in their freezer. And I'm a single mom of 4. 3 of my kids play sports. After I get off work at my agency, I'm running around at games and practices. So to be able to take something out of the freezer, stick it in the Instant Pot now, and it cooks for 30 minutes, saves me hundreds of dollars a month in grocery bills. So I'm a huge proponent of thinking ahead and strategizing, like, what can I do this week? What does my schedule look like? What can I stick in the crock pot? What can I make ahead of time on Sunday to stick in the crock pot that people can eat out of throughout the night as they come home, in and out? And I've also had to give myself a lot of grace that, like, I grew up in a family where we sat down and ate dinner every night together as a family. And my parents were together. Like, I cannot do that right now. It's physically impossible for me to be everywhere. So, like, I've had to get really good. I call it my fast 5 meals. I have these ingredients in my freezer or refrigerator at all times. So 5 meals that I can make in 10 minutes or less. So that's
you got to give them to us.
Yeah. Okay. So I always have ravioli and jarred sauce and frozen garlic bread, because I can just like whip that up in 10 minutes and all my kids like it. Quesadillas. I always have stuff for like grilled cheese and tomato soup. My kids love rice bowls. So having Trader Joe's has these amazing freezer rice packs that I can just throw
I made
rice.
one last night.
They're amazing.
So for a long time, I did not go to Trader Joe's because I didn't understand Trader Joe's. I would go in there and I would think, this is not like food, right? I mean, all the frozen things didn't register to me as dinner, but my kids love it. So I decided, all right, I'm going to give it a try. I went 2 weeks ago by myself on the weekend, shopped around, bought some select things. And one of the things that I bought was the fried veggie rice. Last night, I put it in the pan. I added 2 eggs that I had scrambled, and it was dinner. It was dinner in like 5 minutes.
Yep, exactly. And they have these individual jasmine rice packs that you can stick in the microwave for 3 minutes. And so I get those and some chicken that I can just shred up. And then we have rice bowls. And then, I mean, Brinner, you can't go wrong with like pancakes and eggs and you know what I mean? So I always have those ingredients in my house at all times. So like if we're just having one of those nights, I can whip something together in 10 minutes or less. And that helps us from eating out.
And it's so cost effective. I mean, I
Yep.
made dinner for the two of us last night for like $3.
Exactly.
It was ridiculous.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
So like I'm always thinking ahead of like what are some things I have in the freezer that I can just whip up so that I kind of had to just get out of this mindset like I have to create this like elaborate meal every night. Like my kids don't care. They're like, we're hungry. I'm like, here. And they're like, yay, mom saves the day. So
All right, let's talk about your career. Let's talk about your new career. You decided to ditch your brand as the coupon lady. You came clean to your followers. What was it like? And how did you decide where to pivot to?
yeah, so I wrote 3 books. 2 of them were self-published. One of them was a major book deal with Hachette. That was the Recovering Spender one. And through my career, was a regular on the Today Show. I've been on with Hoda and Jenna about 50 times. I was a regular on the Rachel Ray Show for 5 years. I mean, like you, like I did a lot of the national shows, GMA and Dr. Oz and all the shows. And one of the things that I loved the most is coaching people how to use a book to build their brand. And I think that every business owner, entrepreneur needs a book, right? Because I think I could look at my personal finance brand before my Hachette book and after my Hachette book of the credibility and what it did for my brand. And I also love television. I loved being on television. I mean, like it's fun.
So fun.
It's so
Yes.
fun to go on TV and it's so fun to build relationships. And as I knew, it was really hard to let go of the old brand. It was really hard because I was very well known in that field. I remember calling the executive producer of the Rachel Ray Show and telling her, I just wanted to let you know that I'm quitting television and I'm stepping down from the show because I was able to join SAG-AFTRA through that. So I was able to get paid and making that decision of like, I'm stepping down from the show and I'm not going to come on anymore because I just don't feel like this is what I want to do. Like that was hard. That was really hard to give up something like that. And I just really felt very strongly that I needed to evolve into something I was really passionate about. And I wasn't passionate about personal finance anymore. I was really passionate about helping people build their brands using books and media. And so that's kind of where the shift started. And I had been doing media training and coaching with people in like the personal finance community for a while. And man, was it scary to like jump out and just say, I'm selling that website and going to this new one. And, if people don't recognize Lauren Cobello, that's my maiden name. And Lauren Groupman was the name that I went under on television and with all of my books. People might recognize me from that name. But I stopped what I was doing and I started my agency. I hired the best publicists that I could find in the country who are amazing. And we launched Leverage with Media PR. And I'm having like the best time. Like I absolutely love what I'm doing.
What would you say to somebody listening who says, I've got a brand, I'd like to write a book, I don't know where to start?
I start with their story, right? The story is what drives the message. I think I see a lot of people write the wrong books for their brands. They write a book that doesn't move the needle with what their business goals are. I think you need to write a book that aligns with where you want your business to go next. I see a lot of people write memoirs, which are great, but I think memoirs should come after a how-to book, right? Where you're more well-known. And so I think that's kind of something I see mistakes of a lot. But I think people should write a book of where they want to go next. So if they want to write a book for speaking engagements to, that a speaker booker will buy in hundreds for their clientele, then you need to write a book for that person, for that
Yep.
clientele. So you have to really strategize what Where do you want to sell it? What's the end goal before you even write the book in the first place?
Great advice, Lauren. I'm not surprised that you are having a great time, and I'm also not surprised that you're finding great success. Thanks for sharing all of these tips and your story with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if people are looking to find you because maybe they want to write a book, where do they go?
LaurenCobello.com is my personal website, and then they can find me at leveragewithmedia.com for the agency.
Perfect. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.